Welcome to the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast. My name is Katie Dodd, and I'm a nutrition entrepreneur. I spent 7 years as a side hustler before diving into entrepreneurship full time. Before making the leap, I was bringing in 6 figures through my side hustle. If I can do it, you can too. This podcast is for dietitians, interns, and students who want to be inspired to start or perfect the side hustle of their dreams. Let's do this. Hello and welcome to the 218th episode of the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast, Copywriting with Danielle Peters. I'm so excited to bring to the podcast Danielle Peters. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist who sees clients in California, but also runs a business called Therapy Copy, where she helps people improve their copywriting. Danielle is in the Blogging Accelerator program, and she just has so much value to offer. And so I asked if she can come on the podcast and share a little bit more with you guys about copywriting. So thank you for being here, Danielle. And maybe you could share more about yourself, since that was a really quick intro.
So thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I love doing podcasts. They're so much fun. And Katie's one of my favorite people. So very excited to be here. So like Katie said, I am a therapist in California. I also have a copywriting business where I do copywriting for mental health professionals and medical professionals. I've been expanding to dietitians, and I have a psychiatrist that I write for as well. So my favorite thing about doing copywriting is showing the person's personality through their copies so that their clients really get to know who they are before they actually even meet them. So.
Yeah. You know, I know we have some questions I said we're going to go over, but just out of curiosity, what got you into this space? How did you go from being a therapist to all of a sudden, like, copywriting's your jam? So kind of what got you into this space?
Okay. So I've always loved writing. As a teenager, I would write, little short stories and things like that. And then, but I always knew like my passion was therapy. So I went into therapy. I became a therapist. I started doing that business. I loved it. And then I had kids. And for a little while at the beginning of my, after my daughter was born, I did what's called messaging therapy. So I would write back and forth to my clients, and I wasn't meeting with them in person. And that was really fun. And so then I've kind of moved away from that. And since then, I've been like, I was really craving writing again. And I really wanted an outlet for it. But I just, with 2 kids and private practice, it was, I didn't have enough time to do it for fun. And so and I was looking for a way to A, spend more time with my kids, and B, figure out how to make some money with writing. And that's how I ended up with copywriting. And so I actually hated writing my own website, when I was started this, I was like, okay, I'm going to write blogs for other therapists. And what happened was everybody was like, write my website for me. And I finally agreed, and I loved it. It was one of the most fun things to just like show off a really amazing professional to their ideal clients. So much fun. So.
Yeah. I think I could relate to that. Sometimes it's easier to build up like, look how awesome they are, versus like sometimes writing our own stuff. So I love that. And thanks for sharing your story. And I think that probably resonates with a lot of our listeners, because a lot of our listeners are moms or are planning to build a family, and they're kind of in the same boat of like, okay, I've got this, I'm working over here, but I want to find what are things that I could do that could allow me to be more present with my family or friends or whatever. So I always love hearing those little stories. How did you get into this space? So I know we keep throwing around the word copywriting, but I'm hoping you can clarify to people, what is copywriting? When we're saying copywriting, what does that actually mean?
So there's actually a lot of confusion with that. When I say I'm a copywriter, I often get people asking if I like make patents or something like that. And so really so it's not patent making. But really what copywriting is it's any writing that sells something. So so it could be the copy on your blog or the copy on your website. It can be blog writing, as long as you are making sure to put a little call to action at the bottom. It can be, like a landing page for a course, sales emails, or just the emails you send out to your prospective clients. Anything that has the end purpose of eventually selling something is copywriting.
I really love that definition. With the brand dietitian side hustle, I talk about copywriting as a side hustle opportunity, but I feel like when I explain it, I talk in circles, but that was like so crystal clear. My
Thank you.
my my experience with copywriting was I got hired through Upwork, which is a platform that you can find different writing gigs to
Mhm.
do copywriting for a product on Amazon. And so purpose to sell anything
Yep.
that sells.
Yep.
So, and that was actually really fun. It was, I had never done anything like that. And it was kind of fun to put on my dietitian hat, but then also my business hat and kind of combine them with my writing skills.
Yeah.
So, let's talk a little bit more about how someone could put their personality into their copywriting, because I know you said that's something that you're pretty passionate about. So if someone is out there writing copywriting, writing something that sells, and whether or not it's for a blog with calls to action, whether or not it's landing pages, even emails that sell, whatever it is, how can they
Yeah.
infuse their copywriting into what they do
So
and their
one of the
personality?
So one of the biggest things especially with medical professionals, because we all have a high level of education,
Yeah.
is to put that part of our personality and our training aside. Like, what we're not trying to convince the people that we're writing to that we're smart. We are, because especially if you're seeing people one-on-one or in groups or selling courses, or even if you're just making money off of a blog, like, you are selling part of who you are. Like, you're selling your personality. And so we want to take the kind of stuffy writing that we did in school and like put it away. And then you want to try to use as much of the language that you use in your daily life as possible. So, if you use a lot of contractions, can't, won't, your, if you say y'all, put y'all in your writing. Like, write the way that you speak as much as you can. Another part of it is like really trying to do some introspection. And this is one of the things I do with my copywriting clients is I sit with them and I talk with them about like what makes them who they are. Why is somebody going to your, geriatric nutrition diet,
Mhm.
can't
Yep.
remember the name. But your geriatric nutrition blog versus someone else's. And
Yeah.
what it is, it's, yes, it's the information, but it's also the personality that you put in there. And it's that you're relatable to them. And so you want to write the way you speak, and you want to really think about like, what is it about me that people are coming to me for this information? So, one of the website copies that I do a lot of is I do a lot of therapists that work with neurodivergent folks, and I have written copy. I've probably written 6 websites for people that specialize in this, because partially because it's my therapeutic specialty, but also it's a passion of mine. And so, but I've written every single one of those from a different angle, from a different perspective, from a different therapist, and each website is different. And so it really is like, is what brings people to me that I'm really grounded, and and that I really focus on mindfulness? Is it that I am, I'm very cheerful and like encouraging? And so try to figure out really what it is. And like, you might find some of that information from like feedback you're getting from people. So if you get comments on your blogs, things like that, that's good feedback to keep in mind. And then when you're writing your blog, trying to make sure that you're putting that part of your personality in your writing. So I hope that wasn't too long-winded.
Oh, I loved everything about that. And I was writing down so many things. I mean, the first thing I wrote down is like, take off your medical hat. I think when we think of writing in school, so much of what we wrote as healthcare professionals, dietitians with this audience was very technical writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, even with dietitians, and I think this is true with actually most healthcare professions, we have these non-credentialed professionals that we're competing with online. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think dietitians can get caught into, well, I need to prove that I'm the specialist. I need to prove that, like you said, that I'm smart enough, that I know all my stuff. But I
Yeah.
like that reminder of like, no, take that hat off.
Yeah.
People connect with people.
Yes.
And yes, you got the street cred and all that, but really focusing on speaking to them in your language, who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I love that message.
And then showing your knowledge through the actual, like, what you give them, they will be attracted to you because you have the actual real knowledge. So,
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And something else that you said was what makes you, and I wrote this down, it might not have been your exact words, but what makes you special? What makes you unique? And I think that's important too, because I also feel within this audience, a lot of dietitians worry that their niche is too saturated. Why would
mm-hmm.
anyone want to work with me? There's already a million other diabetes dietitians who are amazing. And so I like that you have your people sit down and reflect on, well, like, what's special about me? Why would someone want to buy from me? What makes me unique? Because we all do connect with different people.
Yeah.
I tend to connect more with warm and fluffy people, where other people are more like, give it to me direct. Tell me how it is. Like we all
Yeah.
connect with
Yep.
different people. So I think that that's a step I would imagine most people don't take that time to sit down and figure out, like, what
Yeah.
is it that's special about me?
Yeah. Yeah. And that personality is really what brings people, like, the SEO and all of that brings people to your blog, but or your website, but what keeps them there is your personality.
Yes. What keeps them there and what gets them to buy, because, if
Yes.
they love you, they're going to want to work
Bye-bye.
with you. And
Mm-hmm.
selling is not some, sleazy, like, oh, I'm going to take their money. Selling is helping.
Yes.
And
Yep.
as healthcare professionals, we are helpers and we want to help people. So, all of this stuff is so important. The copywriting is important to make sure that we get it right to where it reflects us. So that way we can get people in our world and actually be able to help them. And we do that by, of course, free information, but then also by selling.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that we want to do with our copy, like, is that we want to be attracting the people that are for us, that, like
Yes.
the warm and fuzzy people. We want to be attracting the warm and fuzzy people to Katie's program, but we don't want to be attracting, like, we also want to be kind of pushing away the people that are not for us,
Yeah.
because when we bring in people that aren't for us, that's when we get into trouble. Like, that's when we end up with clients that are angry with us and things like that. So, it really is bringing people in and deflecting the people we don't want.
Yeah, that's
So
another really good point, because for the people pleasers listening, they want to make everyone happy, but it's not about not making people happy.
no.
But they're like, I want to work with everyone. But you're so right. We want to attract as many people as we repel, because for us, it's going to be a better experience for us working with clients that we connect with, and it's going to be a better experience for them versus, like, polar opposites coming in. So yeah, that's another really good point. So my next question for you is, what is the most important thing to remember when it comes to copywriting?
Okay. So, other than putting your personality into your copywriting, the most important thing is to make sure that you tell the clients or your audience what the next step is.
Mm.
So I see a lot of this out in the world. Like, I was looking at LinkedIn the other day and I saw this woman had this amazing post, but she didn't say, like, check out my coaching website. She didn't say book a call. She didn't say any of that. And so she has this great post, but nobody knows what to do with it. And, we have to remember that people are on the internet when they are relaxing. Most of the time, they're not on the internet when they're, like, doing business, when they're, like, looking for, if they're in the middle of their workday, they're probably on a research site. And so if they're on the internet, if they're on our sites, it's their time off. So they're not going to be like, oh, this woman, and this is so and so, I'm going to go look up her website and search her out. A lot of times people aren't going to take those extra steps. So you need to put what you want them to do next. And sometimes it might be like, hey, check out my other blog on this topic. Sometimes it might be book a call. Sometimes it might be, go to my about me section to learn more about me. So you want to have a call to action that tells them what to do next. it might be like, hey, it's time to buy my program, or it's time to, set up services or whatever it is. But you want to have something, a couple of places on each page, like 2 to 3 places at least on each page to tell them where to go next. And you want to focus on one call to action.
So one call to action, like one clear message 2 to 3 times.
Mhm. Yeah.
Where, and I know we're talking kind of broad, we're kind of talking about all copywriting everywhere, but where are
Yeah.
some of the standard
Yeah.
places where you would have the CTAs, calls to
So
actions?
on a home page, you would have it above the fold, which is on the first part of the website that you see
Yep.
without scrolling down. And then usually somewhere in the middle at one of the page break areas. So like maybe after the short little about me blurb or something like that. And then at the bottom. And you want to make them brightly colored so that people can find them and see them easily and quickly.
Yep. And I think that's important because we tend to be skimmers, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
don't always read every single word. And so make it obvious, make it often, and don't worry like, oh, is it too much?
Yeah.
Um, I, I like I like those examples that you gave of different calls to action because I think that's important that a call to action isn't always
Buy now.
related to money. Yeah. I often tell, I had a sticky note. It said like you've got to sell. And
Mhm.
selling from my perspective is not just about money. Sometimes
Yeah.
we're selling attention, time. And so when you're telling someone, go check out my about me page, go read the next blog, you are selling them. You're asking them to, use their time to go check out something that will provide value. And I think the more we do that, it gets people in this mode of taking action. And when the time feels right, when it comes to actually buying something, they are more likely to because they're used to that, they're getting these calls to action. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that's very, very important and a piece where a lot of us do miss out because there are opportunities that are being missed because we forgot this one vital step of tell people what to do so they know, so they'll
Mhm.
do it.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. So, any other tips that you have for people related to copywriting?
I think, the biggest part is really just to make sure you are putting who you are in the copy.
Yeah.
Because if it is just a really, if your personality isn't in there, it's very dry, it's very boring, and they don't have anything to connect with. And so like that, I feel like that is my biggest tip. There are all kinds of tools out there for like headlines and, figuring out SEO and all of that. But the part that makes your website, your copy, you, is putting you in the copy.
Yeah, yeah. So for someone who's like, okay, Danielle, I hear you. What is a good first step for them to actually tangibly do that? Like, what's the thing like when they get
Mhm.
off this podcast that they should actually do to get closer to being able to do that?
Yeah. So I really think it's doing some journaling or some writing or talking to somebody, and really, so, you know, looking at the clients that you work best with and remembering the feedback that they've given you, and using that feedback to talk about who you are. Because a lot of times there is the introspection part, but there's also this part of like, often we don't know how we come off. Like I met a client in person a couple of months ago for the first time, and the feedback they gave me is like, you really are that like warm, mothery type that you are online. Which I would have never known that that's the air that I give off, but I think it was probably very accurate.
Yeah.
So, having that feedback, and I actually have, it's not within reach right now, but I have a book where I write down all of the feedback, like all of the positive feedback and kind of that type of feedback that clients give me so that I can use it when I'm writing my copy or revising my copy later. So,
Yeah. I love that. So what they could do, they could journal, look inward, but then also ask people and
yeah.
look at what your clients have said. So if you have clients, look at their feedback. If you don't, you could ask people. I remember, I actually just pulled this up on my phone. Like I did something like this 4 years ago. I was doing this free program with Pat Flynn. He is with Smart Passive Income. He is a podcaster. He's amazing. And he had this little course he did called like smart from scratch. And he actually had us ask on Facebook, like ask our people, like,
Mhm.
what is our unique ability? What is our superpower? And I remember I got like tons of feedback from people that I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that people saw me this way. And so
Yeah.
I think that's important too. It's not just about how we see ourselves, but it's how other people see us too.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm actually looking at it now. I'm like, oh, these are nice comments. But
I love that activity and asking people on, on your Facebook group. I think that's a great idea. Or in
yeah,
Facebook.
yeah, yeah. So where can people find you online? Where can they learn more from you?
Okay, so my website is www.therapycopy.com. I do work with other people than just therapists, but that's my website. I also have I write blogs as well as other copywriting. So I have a blogging essentials toolkit that you can get for free. And then I have like a little $9 brainstorming blog topics. So
Awesome. Awesome. So that all of that is on Danielle's website. If you go to Therapy Copy, just you'll see her CTAs, her calls to action.
yep.
They're on there.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Danielle. I'm just so grateful that you came on and you shared all of your knowledge and insights with our listeners. And I hope that everyone came away with a little bit of like, okay, I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of my personality and make sure that I ask people to take action when I write. So thank you so much.
Thank you.